Lori Vallow Daybell. Once a beauty pageant contestant, later a suburban mother. And now, twice convicted in two separate murder cases. But this time, it wasn't her children. It was her husband. Charles Vallow was gunned down in 2019. At the time it was ruled self-defense. But now, a jury in Arizona has said otherwise. Lori Vallow Daybell, found guilty once again. Why was her brother the triggerman? Why did Lori change the life insurance policy days before? And what made her call the guilty verdict? A bit of a surprise? Let's rewind. Because the story of Lori Vallow Daybell is far from over. It was July 11, 2019. A hot Thursday morning in Chandler, Arizona. Police received a 911 call. Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's brother, calmly told the dispatcher he had just shot his brother-in-law. He said it was self-defense. Charles had attacked him with a baseball bat. But when officers arrived, something felt off. Charles Vallow, age 62, was lying dead on the living room floor with 2 bullet wounds to the chest. Alex Cox was oddly calm. So was Lori. She had taken her kids for breakfast, she claimed, returning only after the shooting. But surveillance footage and call records would later suggest a very different timeline. Months before his death, Charles Vallow feared for his life. He had told friends, lawyers, even the police, that Lori was acting strangely. She believed she was a goddess, he said. She told him he had been possessed by a dark spirit named Ned Schneider. She called her children zombies. And perhaps most alarming, Charles believed Lori wanted him dead. He tried to get her evaluated for a psychiatric hold. He filed for divorce. He changed the beneficiary on his $1 million life insurance policy, removing Lori and replacing it with his sister. 2 months later, he was dead. Lori Vallow wasn't always infamous. She was once a devout Mormon, a cheerful mom, even a contestant on the Mrs. Texas pageant. But behind the smiles, darkness festered. In 2018, she met Chad Daybell, an author of apocalyptic fiction and a self-proclaimed prophet. Chad believed the world would end in July 2020. He preached about light and dark spirits, and people whose bodies had been taken over by evil entities that they called zombies. Lori became obsessed. She told friends she was one of 144,000 chosen to survive the end of the world. That she was a god. Together, she and Chad started creating a hit list, people they claimed were possessed, dark, or simply in the way. After Charles's death, Lori moved to Idaho with her 2 children, 7-year-old Joshua, J.J. Vallow, and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. Then they vanished. 4 months, Lori refused to answer questions about their whereabouts. She got married to Chad Daybell, just weeks after his wife, Tammy Daybell, died mysteriously in her sleep. Police grew suspicious. In June 2020, a search warrant led them to Chad's backyard, buried near a fire pit, were the bodies of J.J. and Tylee. J.J. was wrapped in plastic and duct tape. Tylee had been dismembered and burned. The community was horrified. In 2023, Lori Vallow Daybell stood trial in Idaho. She was charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy in the deaths of her children, and in the death of Chad's former wife, Tammy. The jury found her guilty on all counts. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But the story didn't end there. Because Arizona still wanted answers. In 2024, Lori was extradited to Arizona to stand trial for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The charge, that she helped plan the killing of her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. Her brother Alex may have pulled the trigger, but prosecutors argued it was Lori who laid the groundwork. The motive? A mix of money, Charles's life insurance, and freedom. Lori wanted to pursue Chad Daybell and her end-times fantasies without her husband standing in the way. In a bizarre twist, Lori refused a public defender. She chose to represent herself in court. Prosecutors laid out a damning timeline. In the days before Charles's death, Lori made cryptic comments about missions and removing dark spirits. Text messages between her and Chad showed they believed Charles was possessed. She also discovered that Charles had removed her as the beneficiary on his life insurance policy. She reportedly told a friend, "Charles is now a liability. He has to go." And then he was gone. The jury deliberated for just 3 hours across 2 days. On April 22, 2025, they returned with the verdict. Guilty. Lori Vallow Daybell had conspired to kill her husband. In court, she showed little reaction. No tears. No outrage. Later, in a strange interview, she said, "This was a family tragedy. It was never a crime. I was surprised by the verdict." Surprised? Or just trying to keep up appearances? Lori now faces sentencing in Arizona. She's already serving multiple life sentences in Idaho, but Arizona could add even more time. And yet, her story still isn't over. In June 2025, Lori will face yet another trial, this time for conspiring to murder her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. Chad Daybell, meanwhile, is still awaiting his own trial. His charges include first-degree murder and conspiracy. The court will soon decide, was he the mastermind, or just another true believer? So what do we make of Lori Vallow Daybell? Was she brainwashed by a doomsday prophet? Was she always manipulative, using religion as a tool to control those around her? Or was it something darker, mental illness left unchecked, fused with fanaticism and power? Alex Cox, the man who pulled the trigger on Charles, died months later, collapsed in his bathroom from what was ruled natural causes. He'll never testify. And Lori? She's never expressed real remorse. Only silence. And silence can be the loudest confession of all. Lori Vallow Daybell's body count spans states, marriages, and family lines. With each new trial, more pieces of the puzzle fall into place. But some questions may never be answered. Why did she believe she had divine power? What drove her to treat loved ones like enemies? And how many more secrets are still buried? Let us know what you think in the comments. Was Lori the manipulator, or manipulated? And don't forget to subscribe for more cold cases, courtroom twists, and the true stories behind the headlines. Because justice is never as simple as guilty or innocent.